Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Tiffany, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today I'm going to fill you in on everything that I have been reading. So I'm going to structure this video a little bit different. I've noticed that the poll that I put in my community tab in terms of what you would like to see for wrap-ups, the category of bi-monthly is winning. So if you care at all, that's still up. I'm going to do whichever wins at the end of the month. And I figure because I want to capture like my fresh thoughts of what I'm reading, I'm just going to come to you after I've read a few and cut all of those clips together. So let's just get started. First, I have Toxic by Maggie Cole. This is the first physical arc that I have ever received, and I was geeking when it came. And I will say off the jump, you can just pick up this book. However, this is a continuation and a spin-off of her Mafia War series, and I do believe it will be a lot more satiating if you've met the O'Malleys. We see a lot of events from those books from Bridget, our heroine's perspective. And so going into this book, I knew of what she was ripped away from, and I knew of the secrets that she was taking to the grave. I did not know about her life in New York, about Dante, and how she was secluded by her silence and what that really cost her. But this is a second chance, I would say friends to lover romance between two members of a mafia alliance. Bridget is an Irish princess and Dante is next in line to take over the Italian mafia in New York. And they really do have a genuine connection of friendship. That's what they're calling it, because Bridget just doesn't want to be one of many. I mean, Dante is tall, dark, and handsome, a freaking fighter, and a twin. The girls in that school had no chance. And something does happen that could lead to them being more, but Dante royally messes it up and has a lot of maturity to do as he watches her fall in love with another man. And this really spans from their like teenage pining and angst to when Bridget is a grieving widow and a single parent of two. All the while, Dante remains in her orbit, steadfast in being supportive and tormented by his feelings. And when the window for their second chance opens, you know, Bridget is grieving. She is estranged from her own family because of the secrets that she's harboring, and she's pushing him away because he is the only one that could get her to talk and that could potentially ruin everything that she's been trying to protect. And I just loved Dante's maturity in this. He is a dirty, talking, dominant alpha that just corners her into recognizing the connection that they've always had by being steadfast and continuously showing up for her. And I just love how he really is her only lifeline, despite how much she fights it and how much trauma she is surviving. It's really beautiful. Like, Maggie knows how to write a seasoned love. This really does mature over time. I rated this a 5. There is a moment of vengeance that is very gratifying. And I'm glad that I read the Mafia War series because I could go in knowing what we were talking about here. It wasn't my first, rodeo with these events. And so I just think it like amplified her perspective for me, and I loved it. Sorry about all the traffic in the background. And also, there are children that are living their best happy and healthy lives, so just let them be great in the background if you hear them. Anyway, the next book that I read was the last in the Baylin Crow's Sugarland Saint series, okay? I believe it was like fumbled game, delayed game, second chance romance. MN sports romance. And I was really excited about this one because Tristan was a scene stealer in the previous book. He's very flashy, he has no filter, and he's like shamelessly quirky. And we learn in this book that that wasn't always the case. How he was outed in high school in the most humiliating way. And on what could have been the worst day of his life ends up being a moment that he can look back on and know that that is the origin point for his confidence and acceptance of himself because of his meet cute with Memphis. He was this stranger that just bestows kindness on him, and it's a very sweet and chaste moment, although there is a kiss. And later on, we're jumping to college where Tristan is sporting this huge and what he believes is unrequited like intrigue into Memphis, who is this like football god on campus. And unbeknownst to Tristan, Memphis is that stranger from the past. And yet he always pushes Tristan's away, doesn't seem to be interested. And yet Memphis is doing that because he remembers Tristan, okay? He's presenting as straight, and he finds it very hard to be in his presence. He clocks everything that Tristan does and fears that he would lose control. So I really enjoyed the tension in this one, the mutual pining, the mistaken identity, the banter, because Tristan is absolutely hilarious in a very like emo and eccentric way. And I also liked Tristan's growth in terms of what he was willing to accept, and it wasn't mere scraps. So I rated this a 4. The next book I read was Highland Magic, I believe, by Kerrigan. Byrne, I'm gonna throw the cover up. This is the first in my current Highland Magic series. I believe that's the name. You'll see it right here. But this was like a paranormal fantasy romance between an English maiden with the gift of sight and her encounter with the infamous berserker whose death she foresees. And on the night before what should be like his last battle, you know, she has some steamy insights about him, you know, it gets spicy, and she hopes to, you know, stop fate from actually happening. And this was, you know, this was insta-lusty, it was insta-lovey. I loved how Kerrigan like described this like magical 1400s Scotland with like the brawny men in kilts and the taverns and the battles and the crass speech. I loved it. I did rate it a 3. It was very quick, but it was fun. And then unexpectedly, I got an arc from Amara Rae. This is Hydrous. It's the second in her Immortal Coven series. I'm absolutely obsessed. Really quick though, the first book is LifeBlood. And in that book, you get introduced to this magical and tumultuous political climate of prejudice against witches in general, but specifically from warlocks. And you are introduced to this witch coven of hybrids and the personal attacks against them from their own kind, okay? And in that book, it is a captor-captive situation between a warlock who is meant to torture a hybrid lifeblood witch. And to read this hero go from the hate and the prejudice into this sort of like caveman level possessiveness. Feral, I will kill you if you touch her, you die. It was just chef's kiss, because despite all of their history and despite everything that says they shouldn't be together, they fall. And I just loved it. And that book really did the work of laying, you know, all of the world building ground. So going into this one, we were off to the races from the very beginning, where we meet Naya. She is the hybrid coven leader. She reminds me of a freaking shield maiden. She's freaking lethal. And she's called in by this banana republic of a council, okay, to be challenged. And you need to think of this as like the Roman Colosseum, okay? It's that kind of showdown. All of the freaking witch covens are there, and they're watching this like gladiator-esque challenge with all of like the hinky and shady caveats to ensure that they lose. These council bitches are coming for the hybrids next, and I'm sorry, they want to take them out because they fear them. And in the crowd is our Blood King. Now, these like witch, squabbles are beneath him, but he is entertained by the shedding of blood, and he was invited. And he's also in this realm on word that he's going to meet the person that could lead him to his fated mate. And while he's watching this battle, he is bewitched by Naya's sass, curves, and skills that are surgical with a sword, okay? And he's so captivated that he can clock that she's half fae. And his need of her, sensually and logistically, is a bit of a problem and a quagmire for her, because she is holding a really big secret about her lineage and her ties to his eon-long enemy. And also, she does kind of need his help to protect her coven from this council. So I just love the push and pull between them. It was at times dubious for fated and magical aphrodisiac reasons, so you need to know that going in. But he is this like psychotic sunshine. She's a stabby grump. They are equally matched. There are two leaders bound by duty, and I love how they are reluctant to fall, and they do so anyway. This is action-packed, it's emotional, it's heartfelt, and I absolutely loved them. I rated it 5 stars. You need to get on board in this series and go through that world building so that you can get to the nectar, because I absolutely love what she's doing. And the next one already comes out in May. So I will be back in my next clip with some more reads, but I'm loving what I'm reading so far. All right, I have a couple more books for you in this round. So far, I've read Between Dawn and Dusk by James Schlosser. Hope I'm saying it right. I got this rec from Ava, from Ava's romance books, and I really enjoyed how much ground is covered in a prequel novella. This is a fantasy world with fated MCs from warring kingdoms. It had nonstop action, morally great characters, magical rituals, and this is really the journey of them solidifying their fated bond despite all of the historical and political obstacles in their way. I thought it was clever that this opened with them already having a connection established, because it didn't feel insta-lovey, and I bought their connection. I also liked how this set up the series, because it was situated in their HEA, and I did kind of want to pick up the next book right away, although I didn't. I really enjoyed this. I rated it a 4. After that, I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It was my first time, and I love a battle royale. Maybe because like the Japanese film imprinted on me at such a young age. Like that film, sidebar, I mean, they're in junior high, sent to an island as a way of population control. Highly recommend that movie. But anyway, love a battle royale. Met Selena for the first time, imprisoned for being the most notorious assassin, not even 20 years old. And I met Crown Prince Dorian. He gives her the offer in exchange for her being his champion in hopes to be the assassin for the king. She could possibly, get her freedom. And so I liked the setup of this. I am currently in a House of Breath and Sky, so I did miss like the magical elements within the world building. Although in this book, magic has been banned. And I have a lot of question as to why and what the king is really hiding. I did enjoy Kale, okay, and his broody, annoyance. I like that he doesn't trust her. Why should he? But the banter between them was really great, and I like that arc of respect that we land on Wasn't expecting a love triangle to sort of ensue. I was not feeling Dorian in terms of endgame. I liked how he was giving her things and helping our girl out. But as far as endgame, I'm not sure about that. And I'm not even going to make any predictions because I know how SJM can play it when it comes to that. Like, I remember when I read ACOTAR. I know we're talking about this book, but I remember when I was reading ACOTAR, I was so done with Tamlin's shit. Like, I was so upset about that book. I was wondering why everybody was so obsessed. Was that the messaging that we were getting behind? Like, if I have a clip of it, I will like insert it because I remember talking about it on Instagram. But I'm accepting Tamlin because this is where she's going, but it does not help that the first word out of his mouth in this book to her is no. No what? We're gonna act like you're in charge because my girl handled shit, okay? So I don't understand why you're trying to tell her what to do still. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go back to the book. I was so mad. I was mad. But here, I wanted to see her badassery. And I know that I met her shackled, okay? And also, she can't really like show out in this competition because that would be dangerous for her. She's, sporting a fake identity. And so I get that. I felt like it was a slow build into, the competition. And there was a lot of stuff that was like happening off of the page. But at the core of it, like, I enjoyed, like Kale and like Dorian helping her out. I enjoyed her sort of trying to ferret out the magical elements within this. So, I mean, I think like, I think because I like battle royales, this still like kept my interest. I wish the pacing was a little bit better and I wish there was more magic. But I know this is just the start and I can't really like be comparing this to like what I'm reading right now, which is her latest book. So I get it, but I am very excited to figure out what she is destined to do. I mean, she's got two people in her corner right now. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the read along and yeah, I'm here for it. Next I read, let's see. Oh, Somebody to Love. This was a Easter novella, and by now we should know I am a hoe for a holiday novella. And this was a fake dating, friends to lovers with mutual pining, where the hero needs his best friend to pose as his girlfriend to sort of like buffet some advances from one of his customers that happens to be like a huge like benefactor of a charity that he runs. And she needs him to pose as her boyfriend because she's an elementary school teacher and one of the kids overheard a conversation about her promiscuity and repeated it, so the parents are all mad. And so I really liked how the grand gesture in this involved her class, which was really cute, and how like they really were genuine friends in fear of messing that up, but the heart wanted what it wanted. So this was really sweet. It was fun. I rated it a 3, a little too short for me, but I knew what I was like in for when I went into that. And after that, I read Twisted Beauty by Summer Cooper. The heroine in this book took me completely off guard because I normally do not like heroines like this. She is haughty, self-absorbed, entitled. She was the head cheerleader beauty queen, married the football star that was set to be in the NFL, and now we meet her divorced, living on her sister's couch and off of her sister that's a single parent's charity. They have the worst relationship, and yet Keely has this sort of like delusional self-confidence about her that I won't say was endearing, but I knew she was in for a character arc. oh my God, this woman, she just knows she's gonna be able to bank on her beauty and get back on the saddle. But it's just like, it was comical to me, like how incongruent her confidence was with her circumstances, how she just knew that she could go into the bar broke and come out 5 drinks in and a man was gonna pay for it. I mean, there was just something about that. I'm like, this is like manifestation at its finest, pretty privilege like on display. And is it her fault that conventional beauty is rewarded in this way? I don't know. But Keely, bullshits a resume and finds herself in an interview with Logan, who is a handsome billionaire, and his backstory is that he is opening factories in this small town in South Carolina because he's back. He used to be bullied there in high school, ridiculed, traumatized, and now he's successful, he's made it, and he wants to rub it in their faces. So when he is face to face with Keely, who is a representation of the cheerleaders and the women who clowned him, he knows that there's something amiss about her, and he wants to give her the job because he knows that she believes she's entitled to all of the perks of it. The apartment, the car, the phone, the laptop. He plans to make her pay for all of it and make her job a living hell. And so I kind of liked this setup. I won't lie. At first, Logan was like giving me incel behavior, but as I saw how he was so gracious to his employees and how he really took care of the people around him, like that started to change for me. And so I really did enjoy him giving her a run for the freaking money. Keely surprised me because she really steps up to the plate. Like, we get an arc with her character and the chemistry between them. It's good because she doesn't know that he is pining and she's attracted to him. In fact, I would say she's conditioned to be attracted to a man like him. But because of the way in which he treats her, her focus is really her growth and doing whatever she needs to do to survive this job and keep it. This is her lifeline. She has had nothing. And I enjoyed that about her. Now, of course, he is vexed by her beauty. He's vexed by her being like quick-witted and actually surprising him, and that she's stepping up to the plate and delivering, and almost counter to what his stereotype is of her. And so I love that like relationship between them and the dynamic. What got me with this book is that I wanted to almost see his trauma depicted, like descriptively depicted on the page, because his antics got to a place where I just felt like it wasn't acceptable, even with like his vendetta and the trauma that I had yet to see, okay, because I have read, the second book, and we'll get to that. But at that point, I had yet to see it, and so I felt like it was just this like hurt people narrative that went way too damn far. When she finally puts her foot down, I was cheering at my freaking Kindle. And this is a slow burn, and I have never not wanted steam. And I'm not a grovel like police, but I really needed it in this book. And I was almost pissed that like she caved because of her flesh. I'm sorry, am I saying too much? I'm saying too freaking much. I'm saying too damn much. So I'm just gonna end the first book there. Then I went straight into Twisted Love because I needed to see if he was going to recognize how he was just piling on the trauma that he had endured. Again, what I was pleasantly surprised by is that Keely has found herself in a position where they are in this sort of steam with benefits type situation where he is hell-bent on not falling for her, but he cannot not have a taste, okay? So Keely is in this position where she is the kept woman by the billionaire that she's always believed that she was meant to be with. And yet she's still choosing to better herself and not solely rely upon that. So, I mean, I was at a girl on Keely, okay? And just her growth. And I'm in a position where I'm side-eyeing Logan because it almost feels like the mistress trope in a historical. Like, I really need him to get out of his own way. Although I now know the horrific experience that he endured and that plagues him. And so having Keely as a surrogate to that is understandable. And I get it. It's dark. And there is a twist that I was not expecting. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I'm still side-eyeing Logan, but like I am confident that he's gonna get his arc. And I don't know what to make of this. Like, I'm enjoying Summer Cooper's writing. I saw that she like has some mafia romance, so I'm interested in like diving in that. But I will be back with some more reads. Very interested in this trilogy. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up the third one because I'm just like, I'm a little exhausted by Logan right now. I'm a little exhausted and like flabbergasted at how much I am cheering for Keely's ass right now because she was a mess. Anyway, I'm sorry. I will be back with more reads. Bye. Before we go to the next clip, I forgot to rate Throne of Glass, which was a 4 for me. And I did like the overall message of like remembering who the hell you are. Chin up, tits out, and give them hell. Wish my younger self would have freaking read this. And also, Twisted Beauty was a 3.5. Like I said, the ending, I wanted a grovel. And Twisted Love, I did rate a 3. But I'm hooked, okay? I'm hooked for that series. I am going to read that third book. I just wanted to throw that out there. I realized that I forgot to rate them because I'm editing as I go. I'm trying to be an organized queen. Okay, I'll see you in the next clip. Please let me know if you like this structure. Okay, so I secured the bag at work. I am in the parking lot. I apologize for noise in advance, but I do have a few more books for you. I finished Dirty Game by Mika Lane. This is a part of her Vegas Mafia series where we're following Luca and Leo, the Baroni brothers and twins. They're supposed to be the most fearsome duo in Vegas. They frequent the strip club where our heroine works as a waitress, and she's not at all innocent, but she's really good with the customer, has a genuine spirit, according to Luca, and so he sends her out on an errand. And when she returns, she's returning to a freaking shootout where the twins save her life and then take her captive because they believe that she's indebted to them. And they're forcing her to play what they call is the game. Right off the jump, I'm just going to be honest here. I rated this 2 stars. I did not at all believe in their romance. All Luca talks about is her body. It almost felt as though it could have been any waitress in that club that was a decent human being. And that would have been fine if this book weren't trying to sell me on freaking love. In fact, it probably would have gotten like another half star had this been about the twins using their influence and power to just like find a plaything. But unfortunately, it wasn't. And I think my major problem with this book is that it didn't feel like mafia at all. It felt like 2 college frat boys playing mafia. They had no control over their territory or her captivity. I've never been in like a captive where like the heroine just can run freely and they never know where she is. Like she's able to just leave and go shopping and they're constantly asking where she went. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. And there's another scene that's sort of exemplar of my problem with this. I'm supposed to believe that they have this notorious reputation. And there is a scene in this book where Luca is talking to a card counter in his freaking casino. And the back and forth conversation that they have just felt like, I don't know about you, but I have preferences when it comes to mafia. It felt like that conversation should have been beneath him. It felt like that conversation should have happened between the card counter and a freaking enforcer, okay? It felt like, the disrespect and all of the lip from the card counter didn't showcase at all that they have some sort of reputation in Vegas. I just want my mafia alpha heroes to have a presence. I want to feel their power coming off of the page. I want them to walk into a room and be respected, revered for their benevolence, or feared for their wrath. Give me something that says that they're running and controlling shit, because when they unravel for the heroine, it's all the more gratifying. And I did not get this from them at all. Like I said, it felt like they had no control over their territory, which is understandable in terms of like the third act conflict. And even like some of the things within the steam just felt like they were thrown in there to be spicy, but then she didn't even really like take it there. Like, I love a good spanking, but if the heroine's never been spanked before and like all of a sudden she likes it, I want to like go through that process in her POV. There needs to be a reason why she's being spanked as well. Like, what is that bringing us to? Like, what? There was just a lot of things that I had an issue with, and I know this is somebody's work, so I want to be kind, but I also want to be honest. And I will say, I did notice on Goodreads that there were a lot of people that were saying this wasn't their favorite from her. So I'm not like just like chucking this author to the side. I do want to try some other stuff out. At this point though, I'm not really eager to get into anything very quickly, but she's gonna get some more chances from me. But this just didn't work for me. It just didn't feel like mafia, didn't buy the romance, didn't buy the lure at all. Thankfully, I read Deadly Sexy by Beverly Jenkins. This is a romantic suspense, the second from her that I've read, and I really like this genre for her writing style because the romance is situated in all of the freaking twists and turns and drama that she can pull out, and I think it also worked well with the mystery element of the plot, because although I was already confident in the HGA well before the end of the book, I was still gripped by all of the action and the reveals because I wanted to know who done it and the case hadn't been solved yet. So this is like starting out with Bev's signature. We have a strong and capable heroine. She is the top of her field as a sports agent, and she gets broken down on the side of the road where Reese the Fine, as she calls it, rescues her. She believes him to be a truck driver. He graciously gives her a ride and surprises her with like good conversation, feeds her cherries, isn't at all intimidated by her, which is new. And he is just absolutely smitten with this woman who's not only beautiful, but intellectual and can talk sports. And he's a little nervous to sort of break the vibe and be honest with her and say that like he isn't a truck driver. He in fact is a former detective and multi-millionaire. And he's been recently asked to sort of, you know, get back into the game and investigate a murder that's happened in the sports world. And so little does she know that their paths will be crossing. And when she finds out, she's mad, but she's also shook while watching him work. And of course, sparks fly. And I love Reese as a hero because he is able to allow her independence, okay? And that doesn't take away from his masculinity. And she wants him all the more because of it. The chemistry between them was good. I loved the mystery. I loved the action. This was a lot of fun, and I rated it a 4. Next, I read, I think it's called The Promise of a Kiss by Cassie Bateman. Yes, it is. It's The Promise of a Kiss by Cassie Bateman. I saw Jess from Peace Love Books and Christy from Christy Reads a Lot on Instagram reading this. And I remember Jess saying that if you love The Mummy, you're going to love this. And I absolutely agree. This is action-packed. This is following Lady Hester. She's a cartographer, and she's working on a map of Upper Egypt. I mean, living her best, you know, unmarried and free life far away from stuffy London. And one day, Lord Henry enters the chat claiming to be rescuing her. He is the second son back from the war, trying to secure funds, and his great aunt offers him £5,000 to go and find her. She's believed to be missing, and he knows that that is going to be a task because they have this contentious relationship. Their families have been friends. They've known each other all of their lives. And they, at one point, shared a kiss. One he gave her to shut her up. And then he followed it up with a proposal that she quickly shot down. And I just love this enemies to lovers romance. You know, they have this sort of, like tit for tat between them. I love how they're so bothered by each other and also attracted and pining and like, it's so good. There are ancient and possibly cursed artifacts in this. There is adventure at sea and in freaking tombs, and there's big bads that want what they have, and it was just so much freaking fun. I think this is a really great novella if you're a person that normally doesn't read them because you feel like you need a lot more story. This felt really fleshed out. I bought their characterization and the romance between them, and it felt hard won. And I like how this is, you know, sort of situated in history as well. It's almost like the fate of the world is in their hands. And it just, I loved it. I was so entertained. I rated this a 5. Like, this is a 5-star novella. Like, I thought it was just complete and it had all the elements that I'm looking for. I think I'm going to pick up, I haven't read it yet, but I think I'm going to pick up I think it's a new series by Cassie Mint. I saw Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings and her like reading update. So I'm interested in that. And I'll be back when I have thoughts on the next thing that I read. I finished Cassie Mint's Sweet Little Sinners novella series, and they're short. So I'll just give you like a quick rundown, tell you what I like about them. The first one is Thief. And in this one, the heroine targets the hero's home because she's there to freaking steal this precious jewel. What she's not expecting is for him to be home or for him to beg her to stay and help him with the blind spots in his home security. And I found the way that she gets caught to be comical, and like also her cavalier attitude about getting caught. This was so bonkers because Spencer, the hero, is really just lonely, and he's like instantly attracted to her and willing to accept that she's there to rob him blind as long as she doesn't leave him. And I did sort of like I think it was really fun and like cute to follow his grand gesture. I will not spoil it, but I think that that was like tailor-made for the heroine, and I enjoyed that. So I did rate this a 3. It's not my favorite. The next in the series, Hacker, was, and coincidentally it's Mafia. And I also have an affinity for keyboard pianists. Any character that can write code like sheet music is always interesting for me to follow because it's so far removed from my own abilities. And in this one, I thought the premise was just so unique in that the heroine falls in love with this mafioso through surveillance. You know, she is privy to and has a window into the most intimate moments of his life. And I don't mean carnal. I mean like the mundane, everyday things that showcase like the idiosyncrasies of his character. And I love how she gets to see what no one else does. And this book opens with her being placed in a position to make contact with him in order to save his life. And I like how this crush up until that point has really been safe because she is not a social savant, okay? She's awkward when it comes to peopling, and I really enjoyed this one. That's all I'll say about it. But I did start to notice in the second book that all but one of these heroines are virgins. And I've been sort of like side-eyeing that convention of late, but I think it works really well in this series because these heroines aren't at all innocent. It's their skill sets and hustles that really make them lone wolves and only friends with each other. They don't have a social life. They've really been ostracized from everyone else. And so it makes sense that they would meet their matches on the job. And I like that. I kind of want to rate it a 4.5. I really liked Hacker. Like, I thought it was like clever. I was on beat by beat rooting for them. Anyway, the third book in the series is Honey Trap. And the heroine is exactly as the title describes. She makes money off of the secrets of politicians, titans of industries, really any mover or shaker who just sees her as a pretty face. For some reason, people are compelled to spill the goods, and they have these huge egos and don't see her as a threat. And the romance is between her and this private investigator that's in the same industry but absolutely has to use different tactics. And so, I mean, they frequent the same spaces. You know, they're out there trying to bait the same fish that run in the same school. So he's always hovering and in the background and brooding about her safety. And she thinks that he sees her as this sort of like job hazard and annoyance, but the pining is mutual. And that's all I'll say. I rated this one a 4. I really enjoyed that one as well. Hacker and Honey Trap are my favorite, and Rachel reached out and told me that that's the same for her as well. So I'm like, I totally agree. But okay, the fourth book is Blade. The heroine is an assassin. And when she's on the job, she runs into a con artist who happens to be canvassing the home because they have the same mark. And what lures her in with him is the fact that he isn't shocked by what she's there to do. He has this sort of awe and respect and lends her professional courtesy. That's really what strikes her. It's that camaraderie among thieves, if you will. Again, another antisocial heroine because of what she does and how others respond to it. So for him to be so like open and like accepting is alarming for her. She's a bit feral, obviously stabby, and he's bewitched. And this is also an age gap. I rated that one a 3. Then I read The Half-Orc's Bride by Ruby Dixon. I believe that's it. Let's see. I'm like trying to be cool and like, yeah, Half-Orc's Bride by Ruby Dixon. I saw Jen from the book Refuge reading this, and there's so much about this that I love, and I'm going to refrain from getting granular so that you can enjoy it if you decide to pick it up. But Lady Lowlanth, I'm going to try to say it confidently throughout so it sounds correct. She is sold by her swindler and I'll say swine of a father into an arranged marriage. And I kind of need to backtrack and say that marriage was not in the cards for her, okay? She is unlike her sisters that are dainty and conventionally beautiful, who were able to leave home and start lives with their husbands. She is tall, she has a bigger build, and she also has just this like heart of freaking gold, honestly. But she has accepted that because she isn't desirable, she'll never have the family that she's desperately wanted. And so when her father tells her he found her a husband, she's so hopeful. And she's not anticipating for her soon-to-be husband to be this massive orc with green skin and tusks. And she's also not anticipating for him to be pleased with her, delight in her build, okay? For him to treat her with respect and to help her with her confidence. I swooned over how he treated her in this book, especially because of how abusive and overbearing her father was. I just loved her arc of confidence because of the way that he loved her. And of course, you know, Ruby Dixon, like the rituals around the marriage, like it was a lot of fun. And I liked seeing her like acquire this like self-worth and like stick up for herself. This really like, I loved the heroine in this book, and everything that she sort of represented. So I had a great time with it. I rated it a 4. Now that I'm like thinking about it though, it might be a little higher than that, but as of right now, it's a 4-star read. And now I really want to pick up Vivid by Beverly Jenkins. I also have to read Topaz by Beverly Jenkins for the Rick Appreciation Society book club. But I think I'm going to close this out here so I can get this out for you. And yes, like, again, if you want to vote, if you care, I have that poll in my community tab. I noticed in my last recent reads video that a lot of the comments, I mean, this is a small channel, so a lot for me. There were more than one that wanted weekly videos, yet bi-monthly is winning. So I wanted to try this style out. Again, please let me know if this works for you, if you'd rather me just do like a sit down video and like knock them all out. Let me know, vote, and thank you for joining me. Please consider subscribing and sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.